is a right way and a wrong way to use AI for legal work. In fact, depending on how you approach it, AI can either boost productivity or completely waste your time. So how can we tell when it's actually helping versus getting in the way? Well, a groundbreaking new study just revealed both the smartest and the most ineffective ways lawyers are leveraging AI in their work, specifically as it pertains to a couple new AI developments. And in this video, we're breaking down the key takeaways so you can use AI in the most productive way possible. The team did a whole lot of research for this one because I want you to know exactly what to do by the end of this video. Let's get into it. My name's Jason. I'm actually a CPA who last ran a 40-person firm. These days, I help people around the world adopt AI, and I'm all too familiar with the risks and challenges of pulling AI into a professional services firm. But let's get straight into it. This new study, it isn't all good news. We'll get to that, but let's start with the positives. The study found giving people AI tools significantly improved the quality of their work on most tasks. In practical terms, writing became clearer, better organized, and more professionally polished with AI's help. Even more impressive, the AI boosted the reasoning and depth of the work, with the AI-assisted group turning out more logical, nuanced arguments. In other words, the AI didn't just make the writing cleaner, it actually helped users think through complex problems a bit more like an expert would, courtesy of some new AI tech that we're gonna get into. But first, the test subjects. They tested 127 law students, allowing one group to use AI tools for basic legal work, and the other half could only use their increasingly old-fashioned human brains with the more traditional crop of research tools, not AI tools. The students were then graded by working lawyers. And if you look here, the green tan hill there, those are the scores of students who used AI. They're higher. There's high scores on those hills. But here was the big headline to me as a former firm owner. Beyond quality improvements, AI made people faster. Participants completed their tasks more quickly with AI assistance than without. In fact, the efficiency gains were pretty huge, measured in terms of productivity or quality of output per minute of work. The AI boosted productivity anywhere from 34% to up to 140%, depending on the task and tool. To put that simply, in some cases, people got more than double the work done with AI's help. The gains were biggest for complex tasks like writing a persuasive letter or analyzing a dense document. Now, you may be thinking, well, of course it helped law students. They need all the help they can get. It can be easy to dismiss this. Well, of course it's helpful to these fresh-cheeked juniors, but AI's not coming for me. And to a degree, you're right. But there is more nuance here than simply being able to polish up a student's term paper. Because the whole reason they did this study to begin with was to test two specific AI developments: reasoning models and RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. In the AI context, reasoning models pretty much do what you would expect. They use step-by-step reasoning to better process requests. When you prompt a reasoning model, instead of it just blurting out an immediate response, the model processes the problem, outlines a solution, kind of self-reviews its response before giving you a more polished output. These reasoning models have proven to be much more reliable than traditional models. And when paired with RAG, retrieval augmented generation, they get even more accurate. With RAG, rather than relying on the training data that's in the AI model, it fetches real sources and only uses those sources to answer the question. It is like the peanut butter to the reasoning model's jelly. It pulls real documentation or uses documentation that you provide, not drawing on its own training data, and the reasoning model is going over it several times before giving you a response to ensure it actually adheres to the documentation. This combination of tech, this is what the study wanted to look at, and the results are exciting to the tune of increases in efficiency ranging from 30% to 140%. But believe it or not, I believe those results may actually be understated. Yes, understated, due to two more AI developments that happened after this study. One, the reasoning model they used, called O1 Preview, it's already been replaced by a much more powerful version, O3 Mini. In fact, if you use ChatGPT today, you'll see it as one of the model options you can select from. Here's a competitive math benchmark where the two models were compared. This is the model used in the study. This is the model you can use today. Now, we're not doing math, but it points to its more powerful logical capabilities. The second development that came after this study was done, it's probably the biggest AI release of 2025 so far, Deep Research, a profoundly powerful research tool that PhD level folks are using to produce near PhD level work, all pointing to the fact that today's reality might actually be even more powerful than the picture painted in the study. But That's the good news. Lots to be excited about, right? But let's talk about the ugly or the more mixed news. And let's just jump straight in with the H word, hallucinations, because even in this study, AI still hallucinated. And it should go without saying, nobody should be blindly trusting the output of AI the same way you don't blindly trust the outputs of other people on your team. I like to tell accountants they're perfectly suited to use AI because they've never trusted another human being in their lives. AI is no different. In the process of this study, the AI, the reasoning AI, on its own, it still hallucinated 11 times across the entire study. Comparatively, humans in the study that did not use AI made 4 citation errors, kind of the human equivalent of a hallucination, right? But the real story here is the subjects that used both the AI reasoning model and a tool that did retrieval augmented generation hallucinated only 3 times. Much less than the 11 times the AI model hallucinated, and more or less as much as humans hallucinated, maybe a bit better. But you'd almost expect this to be better, right? Like because it's a computer program, it should never make that mistake. Well, at least in its current form, AI was a bigger driver of productivity than it was accuracy. Meaning accuracy is not something that can be delegated to AI. Could be a useful second set of eyes for sure, but it's not a replacement for humans being involved in that process. Now, if you're looking to get the pitchforks out, here's where you do it. Because this is the biggest blocker folks will face with adoption today, which we're gonna unpack adoption in a bit. I'm gonna show you 4 charts that take all of the participants in this study on a spectrum of their GPA and compare their scores. First chart, here's the productivity of students with and without the AI reasoning model. The red line represents those using the reasoning model, and the blue line is the control, just using their boring old human brains. The blue line goes up as GPA increases, as you may expect. The high performers do a little better, but the red line is pretty much flat. Now, the negative take on this is it doesn't help high performers as much as the low performers. The positive outlook is it's made everyone a high performer, as evidenced by the red line being higher than the blue, and in the process, it just made the low performers just as high output as the high performers. Second chart, here are their scores with and without the reasoning model. Last chart was productivity. This is like their final scores. Again, the reasoning model helped across the board, but the whiz kids, the high GPA students, got less of a boost than the low performers. Third chart, showing productivity using the RAG tool. The last charts were the AI model, now this is the RAG tool. They used a tool called Vincent AI, that's not super important. Again, everybody was better with the tool, but the high GPA students, this is the weird one. They were actually less productive than the low GPA students with this tool. What does that even mean? Maybe they weren't as trusting of it? I'm actually curious if that would hold up under long-term use of the tool once they got more comfortable with it. Last chart here, we see a minor increase in score across the board with the RAG tool. Not as big a bump as you got from the reasoning model, but in a perfect world, you're using both. In fact, pretty much any research tool like Vincent AI now has reasoning models built in, meaning that you're actually getting the double benefit, reasoning model and RAG, with most tools today. But I think this graph, this is gonna stick in some people's heads. Why are my low performing students outperforming the big brains? Well, a couple recent studies suggest that relying on AI can reduce critical thinking skills, and you can already hear this debate playing out. In fact, this exact debate, stolen word for word from an online forum. Bobby says, new results on AI and lawyer productivity. Actually, hang on, we have a character for this. You need to be a well-trained lawyer to evaluate the quality of AI output. The old saying, learn the trade before you learn the tricks of the trade, is more relevant now than ever. Bob's friend chimes in. As a mentor put it to me, it takes 5 years to know what you don't know and 10 years to become a real lawyer. Young lawyers doing Boolean searches and getting AI-generated summaries aren't developing a systematic, holistic way of thinking about law and law practice. And in a completely unexpected twist, the next person made the counter argument. That is so old person talk. There was a point when people said the same thing about book learning. There's no reason to think this way of learning is worse, and plenty of reason to think it's better. Here's my take, because this is the case with virtually all things AI, is both arguments are kind of right. Some of these fresh-cheeked baby attorneys are going to come into the profession never having to do many of the things that you did. But there's an extreme where this is taken too far, and you're forcing people to do long division while they've got a calculator on their desk. But swinging too far the other way, you become wholly reliant on this new crop of tools, and that comes with a heap of risk as well. These tools, what we found in this study, are great for productivity. But And this should honestly go without saying, they absolutely need oversight from humans with real expertise. The two things, human oversight and AI usage, do not need to be mutually exclusive. You can use AI while maintaining the same level of human oversight. That's the sweet spot. So let's get into the most important thing, the rollout. How do I get this in my team's hands without enabling corner cutting or even stunning the growth of my juniors? I think there's two big traps when it comes to adoption. On the one hand, there's the instinct to force AI into everything. Try to just get that sweet productivity boost. After all, in this study, people using AI got their work done faster in 5 out of 6 tasks. And the time saved was not trivial. Depending on the task, AI knocked off anywhere from about 12% to 37% of the time it took to finish the work. And when you factor in the quality improvements, the net productivity, or quality per unit of time, shot up over 100% in some cases. But here's the problem, is the decision makers, the senior folks, they aren't the ones getting the biggest gains. But they're the one making the call on AI tooling, right? So the big bosses, they all get in a room, they test it out and arrive at a conclusion, well, this isn't that great, doesn't help me, and that block can keep us from pulling in the tools that will help the rest of our team. The tech probably won't be as novel for you because you've got a wealth of experience that's filling in some of those gaps, but many of the rest of your team, they don't. And while it's true just letting them go whole hog into AI just to churn through as much work as possible is not responsible, let's instead frame this as a way for them to put together an AI-assisted first draft. Don't expect it to be perfect by any means, but use the tools to get to that first draft faster. And then, in theory, you've got more time to review your own work, which everybody does, right? Review their own work. Maybe that's actually the bigger problem here is getting humans to self-review. I digress. The trick here, if there is one, is just to start. Don't overthink it. Get the tools into people's hands, and the champions among your team will stand out. Use those people to then raise the level of the rest of the team because AI will impact more than we're expecting it to over the next 36 months. So if you really want to develop an AI-proof business strategy for the future, you need to take a look at this to see where we could be headed.